Kim Jae stared at the massive window of the space station and watched the stars. 3 months ago, he never thought he would be here. 3 months ago, he was just another diplomat on Earth, handling small trade deals and border disputes. Now, he sat in the most important room in the galaxy, trying to stop a war that could kill billions. The meeting room was huge and cold. The walls were made of some alien metal that changed color based on the mood of the people inside. Right now, it was a dull gray. That seemed right to Jay. Everyone in this room felt tired and frustrated. On his left sat Ambassador Hana from the Velkari Empire. She looked almost human, but not quite. Her skin had a slight blue tint, and her eyes were larger than normal. She wore a small device on her forehead that looked like a silver crown. Jay knew it was called a neural dampener. It stopped her from reading minds. Her people were telepaths, which meant they could hear thoughts. The device made it possible for her to sit in the same room as humans without going crazy from all the mental noise. On his right sat 3 representatives from the Nexari. They did not look human at all. Their bodies were part machine and part flesh. Cables and wires stuck out of their heads and arms. They spoke with one voice, even though there were 3 of them. They were part of something called a collective consciousness. Every Nexari was connected to every other Nexari through their machines. Jay was the mediator. His job was to help these 2 groups find a way to make peace. The problem was that both sides hated each other. They had been enemies for over 1,000 years. The only reason they were talking at all was because a 3rd alien race had convinced them that war would destroy the entire galaxy. The mining rights to the asteroid belt 7 remain non-negotiable, said the lead Nexari representative. Its voice sounded like 3 people talking at exactly the same time. Our calculations show that Velkari expansion into that sector will result in a 23.7% decrease in galactic trade efficiency. Hana shifted in her chair. Jay could see that her neural dampener was giving her a headache again. She pressed her fingers against her temples. The Velkari Empire has ancient claims to those systems, she said. Claims that predate Nexari expansion by 4 centuries. We will not abandon what is rightfully ours. Jay had heard this same argument every day for 3 months. The asteroid belt was rich in a rare mineral called quantum crystal. Both sides needed it to power their ships and technology. Neither side would give up their claim to it. But Jay knew the real problem was not about asteroid belts or mining rights. The real problem was fear. He had spent weeks studying both civilizations. The Velkari Empire was ancient and proud. They had ruled much of the galaxy for thousands of years using their telepathic abilities to keep other races in line. But lately their power was fading. A strange disease was killing their telepaths. Without telepaths, they could not control their empire. They were desperate to find new sources of power and influence. The Nexari were different, but had similar problems. They had grown strong by connecting every member of their species into one giant mind. This collective consciousness made them incredibly smart and efficient. But recently, individual Nexari had started disconnecting from the collective. They wanted to think for themselves. The Nexari leadership was terrified that their entire civilization would fall apart if too many individuals chose independence. Both sides were fighting over the asteroid belt because they thought controlling it would solve their problems. But Jay could see that they were wrong. The asteroid belt would not fix a plague or stop people from wanting freedom. It would just give them something to fight about, while their real problems got worse. Perhaps we could establish a joint mining operation, Jay suggested. Both sides could benefit from shared technology and resources. The Nexari representatives looked at each other. Their eyes glowed blue for a moment as they consulted with their collective mind. Sharing technology with telepaths presents unacceptable security risks, they said. Hana made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it was not a happy one. The Nexari speak of security risks while their own people abandon them daily. How many disconnected from your collective this week? 50? 100? The room's walls turned red. The Nexari representative stood up quickly. Velkari lies and propaganda will not be tolerated in these negotiations. It is not propaganda if it is true, Hana replied. She also stood up. Your collective is fracturing and everyone in the galaxy knows it. Jay held up his hands. Please, everyone sit down. We are here to find solutions, not to trade insults. The argument continued for another hour. Both sides threw accusations at each other. The Velkari accused the Nexari of stealing technology. The Nexari accused the Velkari of using mind control on innocent species. Nothing useful was accomplished. Finally, the lead Nexari representative announced that they needed to consult with their collective. They would return tomorrow with new proposals. Jay knew this was just an excuse to end the meeting early. Hana gathered her papers slowly. She looked exhausted. The neural dampener was clearly causing her pain, but she never complained about it. Jay admired her dedication. She could have sent someone else to do this job, but she came herself because she truly wanted peace. Ambassador Hana, Jay said as the Nexari filed out of the room. Are you feeling well? You look tired. She smiled, but it was a sad smile. The dampener makes it difficult to think clearly sometimes. It is like trying to see with a blindfold over your eyes. But it is necessary. Without it, I would hear every thought in this room. Human minds are particularly loud. Jay felt bad for her. He could not imagine what it would be like to hear everyone's thoughts all the time. Is there anything I can do to help? You already do more than you know, she said. Your people have a gift for seeing situations clearly. It is refreshing, after dealing with my own kind for so long. After she left, Jay remained alone in the meeting room. The walls had returned to gray. He looked out at the stars again and thought about everything that had happened today. 3 months of negotiations, and they were no closer to peace than when they started. Something had to change. But what? The next morning brought another failed meeting. Jay sat through 4 hours of the same arguments about mining rights and ancient claims. The Velkari wanted exclusive access to 3 star systems. The Nexari demanded shared control of 5 others. Neither side would compromise. By lunchtime, Jay felt like screaming. He excused himself and went to the observation deck to clear his head. Park Day, his assistant and best friend since university, found him there 20 minutes later. You look like someone who has been hit by a transport ship, Park Day said, sitting down beside him. I feel worse than that, Jay replied. We are wasting time while people die. The Velkari plague is getting worse every day. The Nexari collective loses more members every week, and instead of addressing real problems, they argue about rocks, floating in space. Park Day pulled out his datapad and showed Jay some reports. It is worse than you think. Our intelligence sources say the Velkari have lost 30% of their telepaths in the last year. Some entire star systems have gone silent because there are no telepaths left to maintain communication. Jay studied the numbers. They were much worse than what Ambassador Hana had admitted during negotiations. What about the Nexari? Even more concerning, Park Day said. Li Bo received a classified report this morning. The Nexari collective consciousness is fragmenting faster than their leadership wants to admit. Whole sectors of their territory are becoming independent. Some former Nexari are even forming their own governments. Li Bo was the human military advisor assigned to the peace talks. He did not trust either alien faction, but his intelligence reports were always accurate. If both sides are falling apart, why are they still fighting about asteroid belts? Jay asked. Pride, Park Day said simply. They would rather fight a war they cannot win than admit they need help. That afternoon's session was even worse than the morning. The Velkari accused the Nexari of sabotaging their supply lines. The Nexari claimed the Velkari were using telepathic influence to steal their technology. Neither accusation was probably true, but both sides believed them completely. Jay tried to redirect the conversation toward practical solutions. What if we focused on immediate humanitarian concerns? The plague affecting Velkari telepaths, for example. Perhaps the Nexari medical technology could help find a cure. The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Finally, Hana spoke. The Velkari Empire does not require assistance with internal medical matters. Our medical protocols are optimized for collective consciousness integration, the Nexari representative said. Individual treatment methodologies are outside our current capabilities. Jay wanted to bang his head against the table. Both sides desperately needed help, but they were too proud to ask for it. The Velkari were dying from a disease they could not cure alone. The Nexari were losing their collective identity, and did. not know how to help individuals think for themselves. The meeting ended with another stalemate. Everyone agreed to reconvene tomorrow with new proposals. Jay knew tomorrow would bring the same pointless arguments. As the delegates filed out, Jay remained in his chair. He was frustrated and tired. 3 months of careful diplomacy had accomplished nothing. Meanwhile, real people were suffering and dying while their leaders played political games. He did not notice that Hana had also stayed behind. She sat at the far end of the table, rubbing her temples. The neural dampener was clearly giving her another headache. After a few minutes, she reached up and carefully removed the device from her forehead. She set it on the table and closed her eyes, sighing with relief. Jay still did not see her. He was staring out the window at the stars, lost in his thoughts. The frustration of the day finally boiled over. "This is insane," he muttered to himself. "If these proud, ancient civilizations would just admit they are terrified of becoming irrelevant in a galaxy that is changing faster than they can adapt, maybe we could actually save some lives." He stood up and started pacing. Hana's people are dying from a plague they are too proud to ask for help with. The Nexari are fracturing because they have lost their sense of individual identity. They do not need a peace treaty. They need each other. Without the neural dampener blocking her abilities, Hana heard every word. But more than that, she heard the thoughts behind the words. She felt Jay's genuine concern for both civilizations. She sensed his frustration at watching preventable suffering. She experienced his deep understanding of problems that her own people refused to acknowledge. For the first time in her life, Hana truly understood a human mind. Most telepaths found human thoughts chaotic and painful to experience. But Jay's mind was different. His thoughts were clear and compassionate. He saw solutions where others saw only problems. The shock of this revelation made her gasp out loud. Jay spun around, horrified. "Ambassador Hana, I did not know you were still here. I apologize if you heard my comments. They were inappropriate and—" "Stop," she said quietly. She stood up slowly, her large eyes fixed on his face. "You truly understand." "I do not know." "What you mean?" Jay said. He felt his face getting hot with embarrassment. "The plague?" she said. "You are right. We are too proud to ask for help. But it is more than that. The plague does not just kill telepaths. It destroys our ability to maintain the psychic networks that hold our empire together. Without those networks, dozens of species will fall into chaos." Jay stared at her. "You can read my thoughts?" "I removed my dampener because it was causing pain," she said. "I heard your words, but more importantly, I felt your understanding. No one has seen through to the heart of our problems like that. Not even our own counselors." She picked up her neural dampener but did not put it back on. "You also understand the Nexari better than they understand themselves. Their collective consciousness was not just for efficiency. It was their way of avoiding the responsibility of individual choice. Now that some members are choosing independence, the rest do not know how to function as individuals." Jay felt dizzy. Everything he had suspected about both civilizations was true, but hearing it confirmed by someone who would know was overwhelming. "Both sides are afraid," Hana continued. "The Velkari fear becoming irrelevant without their telepathic advantages. The Nexari fear chaos without their collective unity. They fight over asteroid belts because it is easier than facing their real problems." "What happens now?" Jay asked. Hana looked at the neural dampener in her hands. "I do not know. My people will consider me contaminated by human thought patterns if they learn what happened here. But you are right about everything. We do need each other. The question is whether anyone will listen." The moment stretched between them. Jay realized that his accidental honesty had changed something fundamental. But he was not sure if it had changed things for better or worse. The news spread faster than Jay had thought possible. By the next morning, whispers were traveling through every corridor of the space station. Someone had told someone else that the human negotiator understood things about alien civilizations, that the aliens themselves did not know. Jay found Park Day waiting in his quarters with a worried expression and a cup of coffee. "We have a problem," Park Day said, without any greeting. 3 different intelligence sources contacted me this morning. Word is getting out about your conversation with Ambassador Hana yesterday. Jay sat down heavily. He had not slept well. How much do they know? Enough, Park Day said. The Velkari High Council received a report that their ambassador was seen removing her neural dampener in your presence. The Nexari Collective is analyzing communication patterns to determine what information might have been shared. This is bad, Jay said. It gets worse, Park Day continued. Li Bo intercepted military communications from both sides. The Velkari want to know more about human analytical capabilities. They are asking questions like, how did the humans identify our weaknesses so quickly? And what other secrets might they have discovered? Jay felt his stomach drop. What about the Nexari? They are equally concerned. Their collective is running probability calculations about human intelligence gathering. They think we might have been spying on them for years. Park Day pulled out his datapad and showed Jay several reports. Both sides are starting to see humans as a potential threat instead of neutral mediators. If we can analyze their problem so easily, what else might we be capable of? The irony was not lost on Jay. His moment of honesty meant to help both sides was making them more suspicious of humanity. There is more, Park Day said. Other alien species are taking notice. The Korthak Trade Federation sent a message asking if humans would analyze their economic difficulties. The Zephyrian Republic wants to hire human consultants to solve their population crisis. That sounds like good news, Jay said. It would be, except the Velkari and Nexari are interpreting. It is evidence that humans are building a network of alien allies. They think we are trying to replace them as galactic powers. Jay put his head in his hands. Everything was spiraling out of control. The morning's negotiation session was tense from the beginning. Ambassador Hana arrived wearing her neural dampener, but she avoided making eye contact with Jay. The Nexari representative seemed more mechanical than usual, speaking in shorter sentences and offering no explanations for their positions. The Velkari Empire requires clarification regarding human intelligence operations, Hana said formally. Specifically, we need to understand the extent of human knowledge about Velkari internal affairs. Jay was surprised by her directness. I can assure you that Earth has conducted no intelligence operations against the Velkari Empire. Any insights I may have shared were based on publicly available information and observation. Human observational capabilities appear to be more advanced than previously indicated, the lead Nexari representative said. This creates new variables in our risk assessment calculations. I am just one person expressing personal opinions, Jay said. I have no special training or access to classified information. Yet your personal opinions demonstrated understanding of classified Velkari medical data, Hana said. Data that should not be available to human observers. Jay realized they were right. He had somehow deduced information about the plague that the Velkari had kept secret. I made educated guesses based on diplomatic behavior patterns. I did not know my guesses were accurate. The session continued for 2 hours, but no progress was made on the original negotiations. Instead, both sides spent their time trying to determine how much humans knew about their civilizations and what humans planned to do with that knowledge. After the meeting, Li Bo found Jay in the cafeteria. We need to talk privately, he said. They went to Li Bo's secure office, where he activated several electronic countermeasures to prevent eavesdropping. Both alien fleets have quietly moved into attack positions around human space, Li Bo said without preamble. What? Jay nearly dropped his coffee. The Velkari Third Fleet repositioned yesterday. Officially, they are conducting training exercises. Unofficially, they are now within striking distance of Earth. The Nexari have moved 3 battle groups to similar positions. Jay felt the room spinning. They think we are a threat. Worse than that, Li Bo said. They think we are an immediate threat. My sources indicate both sides are preparing contingency plans for preemptive strikes against human colonies. This is insane, Jay said. We are trying to help them make peace. From their perspective, we have demonstrated the ability to analyze their deepest secrets and predict their behavior. That makes us dangerous regardless of our intentions. Lebo pulled up a star map showing human space. Red markers indicated Velkari ships. Blue markers showed Nexari positions. Both fleets are positioned to hit our major population centers simultaneously. If they decide we are too dangerous to live, they could wipe out most of human civilization before we could mount a defense. Jay stared at the map. Billions of humans were now in danger because he had spoken his honest thoughts to himself in what he thought was an empty room. "What can we do?" he asked. "I have been asking myself the same question," Lebo said. "Earth, Command wants to recall all human negotiators and prepare for defensive action, but that would only confirm alien suspicions about our hostile intentions. So we are trapped," Jay said. "If we stay and continue negotiations, they see us as a threat. If we leave and prepare defenses, they see us as preparing for war. There might be one option," Lebo said carefully. "We could try to prove that human insights are beneficial rather than threatening. If we can demonstrate that our analytical abilities help solve problems rather than create them, maybe both sides will see us as valuable allies instead of dangerous enemies. How do we do that?" "We would need to solve their real problems," Lebo said. "Not just mediate between them, but actually help cure the Velkari plague and assist the Nexari with their individuality crisis." Jay thought about this. That would require both sides to admit they need help and trust humans to provide it. "Exactly," Lebo said. "Which brings us back to the original problem. They are too proud to ask for help, and now they are too suspicious to trust us." That evening, Jay stood alone on the observation deck watching the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were preparing to destroy his entire species because he had accidentally demonstrated that humans could understand problems that aliens preferred to keep hidden. He thought about Ambassador Hana and how she had looked when she realized he truly understood her people's situation. For a moment, there had been hope in her eyes. Now that hope was buried under layers of fear and suspicion. The galaxy was more fragile than anyone wanted to admit. Ancient civilizations were crumbling while their leaders played political games. And now, human involvement was making everything worse instead of better. Something had to change. But Jay was starting to think the change would have to be bigger and more dramatic than anyone was prepared for. The crisis exploded overnight. Jay woke to emergency alerts flashing on his communication device. Park Day was already in his quarters, looking pale and worried. "It is happening," Park Day said. 3 minor civilizations declared war on their neighbors 6 hours ago. The Korthak Trade Federation just closed all shipping routes through their territory. The Altarian Council has recalled their ambassadors from 12 different worlds. Jay struggled to understand. Why? What triggered all this? "Fear," Park Day said. "Everyone knows that the Velkari and Nexari fleets are moving toward human space. Other species think this means the big war is finally starting. They are choosing sides or preparing to defend themselves." Lebo burst through the door without knocking. "Emergency session in Conference Room Alpha. Both alien delegations have new demands." 20 minutes later, Jay sat in the conference room facing the most hostile atmosphere he had ever experienced. Ambassador Hana looked tired and stressed. Her neural dampener seemed to be causing her even more pain than usual. The Nexari representatives had increased their number from 3 to 5, and all of them spoke in perfect unison. "The Velkari Empire demands immediate disclosure of all human intelligence regarding Velkari internal affairs," Hana said formally. "We also require assurance that no human agents are operating within our territory. The Nexari Collective requires similar disclosure regarding human analysis of our social structures," the 5 representatives said together. "We demand access to all human psychological profiling data concerning our species." Jay looked between them. "I have told you everything I know. My insights were based on observation and analysis, not secret intelligence operations. Human observational capabilities have proven more dangerous than anticipated," the Nexari said. "Your analysis has destabilized galactic political structures." "What do you mean?" Jay asked. Hana activated a holographic display showing a star map. Red warning symbols blinked across dozens of systems. Word of human analytical insights has spread throughout the galaxy. Other species are demanding that humans analyze their problems too. This has created panic among established governments who prefer to keep their weaknesses hidden. The Zephyrian Republic has formally requested human assistance with their population crisis, the Nexari continued. The Korthak Federation wants human economic analysis. The Altarian Council is considering hiring human consultants to reorganize their military structure. Jay was confused. That sounds like a good thing. We could help solve real problems. It is a threat to galactic stability, Hana said. If humans become the primary problem solvers for all alien civilizations, what happens to existing power structures? What happens to species that cannot offer anything valuable in exchange for human assistance? The Nexari display showed more data. Our calculations indicate a 73.2% probability that widespread human involvement in alien affairs will lead to the collapse of at least 6 major governments within 1 standard year. Jay began to understand. His moment of accidental honesty had not just revealed the problems of 2 civilizations. It had demonstrated that humans could analyze and understand any alien society. This realization was spreading fear throughout the galaxy. Established powers see us as a threat to their authority, he said slowly. Correct, the Nexari said. Your species has inadvertently triggered a galactic restructuring event. The question now is how to contain the damage, Hana said. She looked directly at Jay. Some members of my government believe the only solution is to eliminate the human threat permanently. The words hit Jay like a physical blow. You are talking about genocide. We are talking about survival, Hana said quietly. If human analytical abilities continue to destabilize galactic civilization, many species will view your elimination as necessary for their own protection. Li Bo leaned forward. And if we defend ourselves, that will be seen as proof that we are indeed a threat to galactic stability. A perfect trap, the Nexari observed. Human defensive actions will justify preemptive strikes against human territory. The meeting continued for 3 hours, but no solutions emerged. Both alien delegations made it clear that their respective governments were under enormous pressure to take action against humanity. The galaxy was fracturing along new lines, with some species demanding human assistance and others viewing humans as an existential threat. After the aliens left, Jay remained in the conference room with Park Day and Li Bo. How many ships do they have aimed at Earth now? Jay asked. The number keeps growing, Li Bo said grimly. The Velkari 3rd Fleet has been joined by elements of their 5th Fleet. The Nexari have positioned 7 battle groups around human space. But that is not the worst part. What could be worse? 3 other species have committed ships to a joint task force, Li Bo said. The Korthak, the Altarians, and the Serpentine Alliance are all sending warships to help contain the human threat. Park Day pulled up intelligence reports on his datapad. It gets worse. The species that want human help are also mobilizing. The Zephyrians are moving their defense fleet to protect human colonies. The Meridian Republic has offered to provide military support to Earth. So we have inadvertently started a galactic civil war, Jay said. 2 sides, Li Bo confirmed. Those who see humans as dangerous and want us eliminated, and those who see humans as valuable and want us protected. Both sides are arming for conflict. Jay thought about Ambassador Hana's expression during the meeting. Beneath her formal diplomatic language, he had sensed genuine regret. She did not want this conflict any more than he did. There has to be another way, he said. What are you thinking? Park Day asked. Hana said something interesting. She mentioned that some members of her government want to eliminate humans, but she did not say all members. That suggests there are Velkari who disagree with the aggressive approach. The same might be true for the Nexari, Li Bo said. Their collective consciousness is not as unified as they pretend. Some individuals might have different opinions about how to handle the human situation. So there might be allies on both sides, Jay said. People who understand that destroying humanity would not solve their underlying problems. Park Day looked skeptical. How do we identify these potential allies? And how do we work with them without making the situation worse? I think I need to have another private conversation with Ambassador Hana, Jay said. That is incredibly dangerous, Lebo warned. If the wrong people find out, it could be seen as proof of human conspiracy against both governments. The alternative is watching while the galaxy tears itself apart, Jay said. My accidental honesty started this crisis. Maybe deliberate honesty can help end it. That night, Jay sent a carefully worded message to Ambassador Hana requesting a private meeting. He knew the message would be intercepted and analyzed by intelligence services from multiple species, but he also knew that Hana would understand what he was really asking: the future of human civilization, and possibly the entire galaxy, might depend on whether she was willing to take the same risk he was. Ambassador Hana met Jay in the abandoned cargo bay 3 levels below the main conference rooms. She arrived alone, which surprised him. Her neural dampener was missing, and she looked exhausted. This meeting puts both of us at great risk, she said without greeting. My security detail believes I am resting in my quarters. If they discover I am here... I know, Jay said. But we are running out of time. How long before the shooting starts? Days, perhaps hours, Hana said. The Velkari High Council will vote tomorrow on authorizing military action against human space. The motion is expected to pass. Jay felt his heart sink. What about the Nexari? Their collective has already reached consensus. They will coordinate their attack with ours to ensure maximum efficiency. She sat down on a cargo container and rubbed her temples. I have failed completely as a negotiator. We both failed, Jay said, but maybe we can still do something. What could we possibly do now? The galaxy is choosing sides for a war that will destroy billions of lives. Jay had been thinking about this all day. We tell the truth, all of it, to everyone. Hana looked at him with confusion. What truth? Everything we discussed that day when you removed your dampener. The real problems facing both civilizations. The fact that the Velkari plague is destroying your empire's communication networks. The reality that the Nexari collective is fragmenting because individuals want independence. All the things that both sides are too proud to admit. That would be a disaster, Hana said. Public disclosure of classified information would destroy what little stability remains. Stability? Jay laughed bitterly. What stability? The galaxy is about to explode into war because everyone is too afraid to admit they have problems that need solving. He began pacing in the small space. Look at what has happened. Your people are dying from a plague, but instead of asking for help, they are preparing to attack the one species that might be able to help them understand it. The Nexari are losing their collective identity, but instead of learning how to be individuals, they want to destroy the humans who could teach them. It is not that simple, Hana protested. It is exactly that simple, Jay said. Fear is making everyone stupid. Your governments would rather start a war than admit they need assistance. Hana was quiet for a long moment. What do you propose? We broadcast the truth to every species in the galaxy. We explain what is really happening to the Velkari and Nexari civilizations. We show that human insights are not threats, but opportunities to solve problems that have been ignored for too long. Such a broadcast would be seen as treason by both governments, Hana said. Probably, Jay agreed. But it might also inspire other species to demand real solutions instead of more political games. Hana stood up and walked to the small window. Outside, stars moved slowly past as the station rotated. There is something you should know, she said. Not all Velkari support the decision to attack humanity. Many of our scientists believe that human analytical abilities could help find a cure for the plague. They have been silenced by the High Council, but they exist. What about the Nexari? More complicated. The collective speaks with one voice officially, but individual Nexari have been sending secret messages to various governments. Some want to learn from humans how to think independently. Others fear that independence will destroy their civilization. So there are people on both sides who might support cooperation instead of war? Yes, but they dare not speak openly. Political pressure for military action is too strong. Jay thought about this. What if we gave them a reason to speak openly? What if we showed the galaxy that cooperation produces better results than conflict? How? We propose a joint research project. Velkari telepaths, Nexari technology, and human analytical abilities working together to solve both civilizations' problems. We announce it publicly before anyone can stop us. Hana stared at him. That is either brilliant or completely insane. Probably both, Jay said. But it gives people a choice. Instead of choosing between sides in a war, they can choose between war and cooperation. They worked for 2 hours planning the details. Park Day would help with the technical aspects of the broadcast. They would need to access the station's main communication array to reach every inhabited system in the galaxy. Commander Nari, Hana's military escort, might be willing to help if she could be convinced that cooperation served Velkari interests better than war. We will have one chance, Hana said. Once we begin the broadcast, both governments will try to stop us. We must say everything important in the first few minutes. What will happen to us afterward? Jay asked. Arrest, certainly. Trial for treason, probably. Execution, possibly. She paused. But if we succeed, maybe the war can be avoided. The next morning, they put their plan into action. Commander Nari proved surprisingly willing to help once Hana explained the situation privately. The Velkari military officer had lost friends to the plague and understood that pride was preventing her people from seeking solutions. Park Day managed to access the communication array by convincing the station's automated systems that they were conducting an emergency test. Li Bo provided security by ensuring that human personnel were positioned to delay any attempts to stop the broadcast. 2. Exactly noon station time, Jay and Hana appeared together on every communication screen in the galaxy. Citizens of all worlds, Jay began. We speak to you today not as representatives of our governments, but as individuals who believe the galaxy deserves to know the truth. Hana spoke next. The Velkari Empire is dying. A plague has killed 60% of our telepaths, and we are losing the ability to maintain the psychic networks that keep our civilization functioning. We have been too proud to ask for help, but without assistance our empire will collapse within 5 years. The Nexari collective is fragmenting, Jay continued. Thousands of individuals are choosing independence over collective consciousness. Their government fears this trend will destroy their civilization, but they do not know how to help their people balance individual freedom with social cooperation. They went on to explain how human analytical abilities could help address both problems. They proposed a joint research initiative that would combine Velkari telepathic insights, Nexari technological capabilities, and human psychological understanding. We are offering this cooperation not as conquerors or competitors, but as partners, Hana said. The galaxy faces challenges too large for any one species to solve alone. The choice is yours, Jay concluded. You can choose war based on fear and misunderstanding, or you can choose cooperation based on honesty and mutual assistance. The broadcast lasted 8 minutes before security forces from both civilizations cut the transmission. Jay and Hana were arrested immediately. But 8 minutes had been enough. Within hours, demonstrations began on Velkari worlds. Scientists who had been silenced for months began speaking publicly about the need for outside assistance with the plague research. On Nexari planets, individuals who had disconnected from the collective started forming support groups to help others make the transition to independence. More importantly, 12 other species formally requested that the proposed joint research project be established immediately. They offered resources, facilities, and protection for any researchers willing to participate. 6 months later, Jay sat in a small research station orbiting a neutral star. Through the window, he could see ships from 15 different species docked at the facility. The Velkari plague research was showing promising results. The Nexari Independence Transition Program was helping thousands of individuals learn to think for themselves while maintaining social connections. Hana found him, there reading reports from their research teams. She no longer wore a neural dampener. Working closely with humans had taught her to filter their thoughts without mechanical assistance. The war fleet commanders are requesting to join the research project, she said, sitting beside him. Which fleet commanders? All of them. It turns out that people prefer building things to destroying them when given the choice. Jay smiled. Who would have thought that telling the truth could be so dangerous and so effective at the same time? Your people have a gift for stating the obvious in ways that force others to confront reality, Hana said. It is terrifying and wonderful. They sat together watching the stars, surrounded by the productive chaos of beings from dozens of species working together to solve problems that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Jay's accidental honesty had nearly destroyed the galaxy, but his deliberate honesty had given it something new. Hope based on truth rather than fear based on secrets. Sometimes, he reflected, the most dangerous thing you could do was tell the truth, and sometimes it was the only thing that could save everyone.